Welcome back to Andersen Acres. Today we're diving into one of the more unpleasant rabbit health issues that every bunny owner should know about. Ear mites, sometimes called ear canker. This topic might not be the cutest or the cuddliest, but it's super important if you want to keep your rabbits healthy, comfortable, and itch-free. So let's get to what causes it, how to spot it, what to do about it, and how to stop it from coming back if you have had an infestation. Now, ear mites in rabbits are caused by a really specific parasite that I'm not going to try to pronounce. There it is on the screen. These little critters set up camp in the ear canal, so you're not going to see them up here. Okay, when you're looking for ear mites, you're not looking up here. If you see ear mites up in this area, your infestation is out of control and you should have noticed earlier. Where you're looking is not up here, deep down in here. So you have to open up that ear canal so you can see. And the reason we're using Capricorn today is he doesn't care if I muck with his ears. So you want to open up those ear canals and look deep inside. Okay, you want to see what's in there. Now, the little mites feed on the skin and the fluids in the ear, which causes a whole lot of itching, irritation, and inflammation for your poor bunny. They're non-burrowing, which means they don't tunnel under the skin like some other mites. Instead, they're going to live on the surface. And that means their waste, their movement, their feeding behavior can cause intense discomfort. The life cycle of these mites is right around the 3-week mark. Eggs hatch in a few days, and the mites reach adulthood pretty fast. So if you don't treat it thoroughly, they're just going to keep coming back. You're going to get reinfested over and over and over again. So treat quickly, treat thoroughly. Now, these mites are highly contagious. A rabbit can get them from another infected rabbit. They can also get them from contaminated bedding, from grooming tools, even from a human that simply didn't wash their hands or change their clothes between handling rabbits. Now, the mites cannot infest you, okay? The mites in your rabbit's ears cannot infest you. You're not their host, but they can hitch a ride. So if you handled one rabbit that has an infestation, and then you went and handled a rabbit that does not, and you didn't wash your hands or change your clothes, you're probably bringing a few hitchhikers with you. So while they won't infest you, they will use you as a taxi. So clean up before dealing with different rabbits. Once the mites are in the environment, they can live off their host for up to 21 days. So even after you treat the rabbit, you've got to clean everything they touched. They'll just get reinfested if you don't. You've got to clean hutches and water bowls and remove all the bedding, and you've got to scour everything to get as many of these little mites out of there as possible. Now, stress, overcrowding, and poor hygiene, make rabbits more susceptible to developing a full-blown infestation, but even if you do everything right, you might end up with a mild infestation. So that's why we're talking about what to do if you get an infestation and how to prevent a reoccurrence. Now, what are the symptoms? Because I get asked this a lot. What are the symptoms of ear mites? Well, early on, you might not notice too much. You might notice a lot of shaking of the head or a lot of scratching of the ear. Think about yourself. You occasionally scratch your ear. You occasionally go, ooh, ear itch, ooh, right? But you're not constantly grabbing it. If you are, maybe you have an ear infection. It's the same thing with rabbits. The occasional ooh, itch is not the same thing as something's bugging me and I can't let go of this ear. It's driving me insane. Okay? So pay attention to your rabbit's behavior. If they are constantly shaking their head or constantly scratching, that's a big deal. That's your first clue that something's not right. Now, as things get worse, you're going to see other symptoms crop up. You're going to see the inside of the ear, down in that ear canal like we talked, not up here, down here. You're going to see it get red and irritated. Eventually, you'll see a yellowish or brown scabby buildup. Usually deep inside the ear it'll start, and it'll slowly get higher. And you'll probably see open wounds or bleeding where the rabbit scratched too hard because it's irritating as heck. And you might notice a really bad smell coming from the ears if there's a secondary infection. Secondary infection may require antibiotics. Okay. And you might even notice a head tilt. So instead of having their head nice and straight, their head is tilted because they're out of balance because there's a problem with their ears. Or you might notice, now he is a lop, so his ears are always flopped down, but you might notice that if your rabbit has upright ears, one of his ears is or both. If your upright rabbit suddenly has helicopter ears, that's not normal. Upright ears stay upright most of the time. Okay, so pay attention to the ear position in your rabbits if they're not lops. In severe cases, the crust that forms with the ear mite infection can get so thick that it closes off the entire ear canal, complete, just shuts it. And if left untreated, the infection can spread, causing balance issues or permanent damage. And here's a fun fact. It's not fun for the rabbit. It's a fun fact that's not fun for the rabbit. Sometimes rabbits don't show any sign of ear mites until it is really bad. Because they're a prey animal, acting sick gets you killed. So they often hide signs of illness and injury. You have to check the ears regularly. You have to get that ear, check deep in there. Again, not up here. We're checking deep in here, right? Deep on the inside. It looks like dirt at first. Looks like they just have a dirty ear. That's ear mites. Check regularly because oftentimes your rabbits don't tell you they're sick until they're too far gone to save. So pay attention to the ears. Okay? It's one of the easiest things to spot if you're looking for it. Now, while symptoms can be a good way to guess that your rabbit has ear mites, the only way to thoroughly and truly confirm ear mites is through a vet, because they can take an ear swab and look at it under a microscope. Because occasionally it happens, not usually a dirty ear, especially if that dirt has a red tinge, that dirty ear usually indicates ear mites. But every once in a while, it's literally just a dirty ear, and the ear just needs to be cleaned, and you move on with your day. So they can actually look at a swab under a microscope. Okay? They'll be able to see the mites crawling around as well as any eggs. And they can check for bacterial or yeast infections, which is really helpful because if there's a bacterial or yeast infection, you're going to need to treat that on top of the mites. Okay? And that the infections often happen because the skin is being irritated and scratched off and pulled off, and the mites are damaging the skin. So there's open wounds. Okay? And you might think, well, I saw the scabs, but I don't need a vet. Okay. Some conditions look very similar. Okay. If you're absolutely sure it's ear mites, you can probably treat it at home without a vet. But what if it isn't? A lot of conditions look very similar, like bacterial otitis or fungal infections. It might not be what you think it is. If you're sure it's mites, then treat for mites. If you're not, get your vet involved, okay? If you treat for mites and it's actually something else, you might make the something else worse. So if you're not sure, get a vet's opinion. Now let's talk treatment. There are two main categories of treatment. And one is veterinary prescribed medication and one is at-home remedies. And which one will work for you? This is a case where at-home remedies can work. It depends on the severity of the infestation. So first, let's talk about prescription treatments. I recommend these because they don't take as long to work and they're really easy to administer and you're basically over and done with a little bit faster. But most vets will prescribe something like ivermectin or something similar. These are antiparasitic medications. Okay, remember, ivermectin is not an antiviral, it's not an antibiotic, it's an antiparasitic. Okay, it only deals with parasites. And ear mites are a parasite, so ivermectin can work really well. These antiparasitic medications kill mites systemically, meaning they circulate through the bloodstream and knock out the whole infestation, not just what's on the surface. So often, it depends on the antiparasitic you're issued, but it might be given by injection, it might be given orally, okay? Usually it's given once a week for a couple of weeks, but it depends. Some of them are just a skin treatment, so you literally put the drops on the back of the neck, and it treats it that way. If you have a bad infestation, you also might be instructed to use drops in the ears to help that. So you're basically have to get rid of the parasites. You're not treating ear mites. You're not treating the ears. You're treating the parasite. You want to get rid of the parasite. So in some cases, and most cases, I find your vet will give you eardrops as well, because you might have a secondary infection. If your infestation got really out of hand, you probably have a secondary infection and need those eardrops. If not, maybe you don't. Maybe you just need the ivermectin. So if you have a really mild case, you caught it really early on, you might be able to treat it at home. Or maybe you can't get to your vet right now and you have to start something because you can't just leave it. If you've caught it early, get yourself some baby oil. Okay. You can also use olive oil or mineral oils or any very gentle oil. Grapeseed oil works well. You want to get yourself some oil because right now, if your case is mild, the mites are confined to the ear. They're trapped. Okay. So your best bet, if you can't get to a vet or you have a very mild case, is to smother those mites. Just a few drops in each ear will help smother those mites and loosen up the scabs. And what you want to do, lift up that ear, get those drops in, okay? Fill that ear canal with the oil, rub the base, okay? Rub the base so that oil gets in all the nooks and crannies where the mites might be hiding. Then let the rabbit shake its head and then just leave it. Don't wipe the oil out. You want those mites smothered. Repeat this, depending on how bad the infestation is, every day or every 2 to 3 days, depending, for at least a couple of weeks so you can kill all the adult mites. There are also over-the-counter mite treatments labeled for use in rabbits. If you have those in your area, do not use cat or dog treatments, okay? Unless your doctor, your vet, says it is safe to administer a dog or cat treatment, don't do it. A lot of those treatments for cats and dogs are safe for cats and dogs, but they're not safe for rabbits. Remember, rabbits are different. Okay, there's a reason in a lot of areas the best vet you're going to find for a rabbit is an exotic animal vet. They're not the same as your cats and your dogs. Just because it's good for cats doesn't mean it's good for dogs. So don't give cat and dog treatments to your rabbit unless your vet says you can. Okay, most of them are toxic to rabbits. Also, don't try to pull the scabs off. Don't do that. It hurts, okay? It can cause pain and it can cause a lot of bleeding and permanent ear damage. Let the treatment soften them over time. Let them slough off on their own. You can clean up ones that are already loose. Like, so if they're already falling off or they're already off, you can pluck them out gently, but don't pick them off the skin. That hurts, okay? Don't hurt your bunny. So treating your rabbit is only half the job, though. You have to treat the environment too because the mites are there. Isolate the affected rabbit from the others. Check everyone else. Even if they don't look like they have signs, mineral oil in the ears. Just baby oil those ears up, just in case they already have them in those ears, okay? Then you want to clean the cage, the litter box, the bedding, the toys, everything they touch. Use a safe disinfectant like a diluted bleach solution or even a vinegar can work really well on hard surfaces. Replace the bedding entirely and clean the entire thing once a week for a month, because that way anything that hatches, you're getting out of there. You're going to want to do this once a week for a month. Okay? Ear mites can live in straw or wood, so get rid of anything that you can't disinfect and constantly treat the rabbit. This is the host. They need the host to live. Okay? So yes, clean up everything, but get that baby oil in the ears. They need to go into the ear of the rabbit. That's where their host spot is. So if you are baby oiling the inside of those ears, they don't have anywhere to take root. So you just keep cleaning up the environment, keep using the oil in the ears, and it will eventually subside, okay? If you don't constantly treat, basically you're just going to get reinfested because you'll miss some mites. So clean the environment, treat the rabbit. You should start to see improvement in 3 to 5 days, regardless of what treatment method you're using. There should be less scratching and less shaking. Slowly, the scabs will soften and fall off on their own. But don't stop treatment too early, because if you stop treatment too early, you are going to end up with a reinfestation because you didn't get all the eggs. Okay? Continue treatment. I like to continue treatment for a month, just to make sure. But follow your vet's directions, okay? Your vet will give you the medication. It'll tell you how long to treat on the bottle. I like, if I'm using the mineral oil, I treat for a month because everyone's got to be dead in that time, right? Surely. All the mites, not the rabbits. We just don't know what the rabbits did. Keep checking the ears during grooming for any sign of reinfestation going forward. If your rabbit starts scratching again, it might mean the mites weren't fully cleared up or they got reinfected from the environment. Start all over again. But here's the good news. Ear mites are preventable. Check your rabbit's ears weekly, okay? Quick peek inside. How your ears doing, man? How your ears doing, man? Clean? Very nice. Actually, he's got very beautiful ears. I've never had to treat my lobs. You want to keep the hutches clean and dry so they don't harbor mites. Don't bring in new rabbits without the quarantine period. 30 feet for 30 days. It's just in case. What if that rabbit has mites and they hadn't shown symptoms yet? 30 feet for 30 days. If you're using straw bedding, be aware that it can harbor mites. I ditched the straw years ago. It's not good. But if you are using straw, know that you are increasing your chance of a mite infestation. And if you do want to use straw, consider freezing it for 24 hours. I know that's a big ask, but mites will die in a freezer. So freeze it for 24 hours or switch to paper bedding or fleece or something like that. Always wash your hands and change your clothes if you've been handling infected rabbits. Okay? Again, we don't want to bring mites from one animal to the other. And a healthy rabbit in a clean environment with regular ear checks is unlikely to develop a severe case of ear mites. And if you do end up with them, you'll catch them early. And catching them early is as simple as applying baby oil to the ears and cleaning the environment. So let's wrap things up. Ear mites might be tiny, but they can cause a huge problem for your rabbits if left untreated. Luckily, with early detection, effective treatment, and a clean environment, your rabbits can make a full recovery and stay mite-free for life. That's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Drop a comment below if you've ever dealt with ear mites or if you have tips that worked for you. We always love hearing from other bunny owners. We'll see you tomorrow.